Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever part of the world that you're watching me from. I'm so glad to be here this afternoon. My name is Ngozi Onwucholoba. Welcome to Growth Habits. Welcome. Is there anybody around? I decided to start this growth program because I myself have been going through a process of growth. So I decided to share that journey with each and every one of us. So who is ready to go on the journey of growth with me? Who is ready to go on this journey of growth with me? Because growth is truly a journey. It's not what you do once and that is it. It is a true journey, and it's a journey that each and every one of us must embark upon. It's a journey that if you're not on that journey, you are not making progress in life. So growth is definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. And, most times when we think of growth, we just believe that growth is just, something increasing, or something increasing in size, increasing in length, increasing in width, or whatever. When we see something increasing, we say that that thing is growing. And generally, yes, that is the truth. That is the truth. Once something is increasing in size, we say that it is growing. But there's a definition of growth that I saw that actually I wish I knew who actually came up with this definition to give them their due accord, but it was something that was said in a program I attended and it just resonated with me. I'm not sure it is the person's original definition, so but I'll still go ahead and use it. So, and it says that growth is a process of developing new skills, new attitudes, new actions, new reactions that can have a positive impact on our lives and that will increase our overall well-being. And like I said, this definition of growth resonated with me because it just made sense. It's not just that I increased in size. It's not just that I became taller, for example, or that I became bigger or anything like that, but that I am going through a process of developing new skills, a process of developing new attitudes. See, I think that is even the most important thing about growth is developing new attitudes, changing the way that I used to think, the way I used to see things. So yes, for me, growth is truly a process, and is a process of developing something new, something that was not in existence in our lives, in our experience before. Like for example, when we think of growth, normally we think of like plants. Plants grow. And when we also think of human beings because people grow, and it's expected that we would grow. Nobody expects that you plant a tree or you plant your ugu in your backyard or you plant your vegetables and they don't grow. It's an anomaly. But even though we think it's an anomaly for a child not to grow, for trees not to grow, for plants not to grow, we don't see it as an anomaly that we are not growing as people. I'm not talking about physical growth now. We all grow physically most times. But when we don't grow mentally, when we don't grow in our thinking, when we don't grow in the things that we do, in our activities, when we don't grow in our thought processes, we think nothing of it. So growth is the process of developing new skills, developing new attitudes, new actions, new reactions to things, to the condition that we see, to the situations that affect us. Once we begin to, think of new ways and go on that journey of doing those new things, we can now say that we are growing. That definition ends up by saying that it will increase your overall well-being. So my name, as I said, is Ngozi Onwuchiloba, and this is Growth Habits, where I take you by the hand and I guide you and I walk the journey with you. I don't just take you by the hands. I don't just, guide you. I actually walk the journey with you. I go on the journey of growth with you. This program will be on every Tuesday and every Thursday right here on Facebook. So welcome once again for all the people that have joined right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Those that will still join in the replay, I welcome you all to Growth Habits. Now, I've given a definition of growth, but I also want to tell us something. Growth is something that is continuous. Just like I said, it's a process. It's something that keeps going. You don't just grow and stop. And that is one of the problems that most of us have. We think that growth is, especially when we talk about, growth in our person, growth in our character, growth in our mindset. We think it's something that just happens and then that's it. But it's not so. Growth is continuous. It is a process. You have to keep growing. You have to keep growing. It's step by step. It's something that is, today, okay, I grow in my actions today. I grew in my actions today. Tomorrow, I should move from that place that I have grown to the next level. It should be, something that is continuous, something that is continual. It is not a one-off thing. Growth can never be a one-off thing. It cannot be a one-off thing. And like I said, that is why most of us miss it when we are talking about growth, when we are reasoning out growth. We think we just, you do it once, that is it. I've learned how to, I have a growth mindset, for example. I know what most people say. I now have a growth mindset. I have developed a growth mindset, and that is it. And we want to end it there. But you see, that is not it. Growth is continuous. Growth is continuous. If you stop growing, you will die. Even in nature, once things stop growing, the next thing that they begin to gradually die. They begin to gradually diminish and they die. Even if we look at the example of a tree, because sometimes we think that once a tree has grown to a particular height, it has stopped growing. It has stopped growing upwards, but that tree is still growing downwards. It's still developing tap roots. Its root is growing. Its root is increasing, going down more and more, searching for nourishment. So growth is continuous. Growth is continuous. You cannot do it once, and that is it. Growth is continuous. And another thing about growth, and as we go on in this journey, in this discussion, we will discuss other aspects of growth. We'll discuss other things, that growth other areas we should grow in. Growth is not just now, my attitude has changed. No, we will look at growth in your person, growth in your career, in the works that you do, growth spiritually. Every aspect of your life, we will cover growth in all ramifications. Everywhere that we need to grow, we will grow together. We will grow together. So another thing about growth is that growth can be gradual or growth can be in spurts. How many of us have children? I don't know if we have children, and you send your child to school, probably a boarding house, and when they left your house, they were about this tall. And you send them off to the boarding school, and they stay 3 months, and by the time this child comes back, he's up here. I don't know if we've experienced this. But I have seen it live. So that is growth in spurts. Bam, before you know it, the person has grown. Before you know it, the growth is visible. It's instant. It's just like that. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Even as we're discussing this growth, I ask each of you, if you are joining me from wherever part of the world you're joining me, just say hello, just say hi, and tell me where you are joining me from this day. So as I continue, growth can be gradual, but it can be in spurts. I've given us an example of growth that is in spurts. A child growing. One day, they are here. The next day, it looks like they are here. But it's even that growth that is in spurts. It's not instant. Because that child did not wake up one morning and was this tall. No. There was a process happening in their system, happening in their body. There was a process. And that process was what was now visible one day. So growth is always a process. It's always a process. Always a process. So, and like I said, it's generally growth is gradual. It's even rare to see growth that is overnight. But there is some once in a while that just seem to happen suddenly. Those ones that happen suddenly must be sustained. If that growth is not managed, not even sustained, managed, you find that it begins to be a problem. I don't know if we have heard of, these people that are giants. They have grown and grown so far. Oh, welcome Uchechukwu. Welcome Timi. Uchechukwu is joining us from Asaba. Timi from Osun State. Welcome. I appreciate your time. So I was saying, these people that grow, suddenly in a fast way. If we've seen these giants, or we've read about them, even if we've not seen them, you find that because they grew so fast, they begin to develop some medical problems because the growth was too fast. The growth was not controlled. Welcome, Major. Good to have you here. The growth was not controlled. So growth has to be managed. Maybe control is not the word. Growth has to be managed. Has to be managed. If it is too fast, it causes a problem. This also applies to our businesses. When you see a business that today they have one client, before you know it, they have 100 clients. At a point, they don't know how to handle that many clients. Or suddenly, they have branches all over the place. Without controlling the growth, without monitoring that growth, most times it doesn't end well. It truly does not end well. So growth should most times be gradual. Gradual does not mean slow. Because sometimes when we hear growth should be gradual, we assume it means growth has to be slow. No, growth can be fast, but it has to be monitored. It has to be controlled. You shouldn't just grow out of, grow beyond yourself, if I can use that expression, considering the example I gave of giants. Welcome to Bechukwu. I'm glad you're here. Those giants that grew so fast and so tall, because they grew so quickly, their body did not have the time to adjust to the changes of the growth, and they begin to have medical problems. Also, a company that suddenly, maybe they did a whole lot of marketing or something, and suddenly they have clients from everywhere. They move from 5 clients to 1,000 or 100 clients. See, if that growth is not managed, you'll find that business struggling. Yes, now they have so many clients. Yes, now they have, people are sending in orders, but they can't meet up with the orders. They're not able to satisfy their customers. So growth has to be gradual, has to be controlled. Welcome to Bechukwu from Onitsha. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're here. So growth has to be monitored, has to be controlled. If you just allow it and you just keep on growing, it always leads to one problem or the other. Now, growth also has to be measurable. And many of us, we do not measure our growth personally and as businesses. We do not measure our growth. Even our spiritual growth, we don't measure. We do not measure it. We have no way of tracking it. We have no way of knowing whether we actually made progress. We have no way of knowing whether we actually gained anything. And we just keep on going. For growth to make sense, it needs to be measured. You need to know that you're growing at 10%, or it doesn't have to be a percentage, but you need to know how much you have grown. You have to be able to track it. You have to be able to say that last year I was here. This year, this is where I am. You have to be able to do that. You have to have some kind of mechanism. We will discuss those mechanisms as we go on of how we can measure our growth. Welcome, Constance. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you very much for joining us today. So there has to be a way to measure growth. There has to be a way. You have to measure how far you have gone. Otherwise, you will think you are growing. You will think you're growing when actually you are not growing at all. So yes, you have to measure your growth. It has to be measurable. Now, like I said, many times we are not growing as a people, as a person. We are growing physically. We are growing taller. Some of us are even growing, horizontally. We are adding weight, but we are. Why is that? Why is it that we don't seem to be growing? And I think generally, one of the biggest hindrances to our growth as human beings generally is because we think growth is a one-off thing. I truly believe that is one of the biggest things that prevents us from experiencing growth in every aspect of our lives. We think it's a one-off thing. We think, like I said, I've developed a growth mindset. I'm good. And you rest. And you relax. You don't go further. You don't fine-tune. You don't fine-tune. You just leave it like that. Growth that is not managed. I go back to this because it's so important. Growth has to be managed. Growth has to be managed. It has to be controlled to an extent. Get me, control is not that you now limit how far you can grow. No, it's not that kind of control I'm talking about. It's the knowing what to do, when to do it. Being able to program growth. I think that is just the word I am looking for. Being able to program growth. 2023, we're in February. 1 month is gone. Have we assessed our growth? Did we grow in any aspect of our life in this 1 month? Can we say yes, we did? Or is it just, I'm growing. Many of us, especially we that are children of God, say, by faith I have grown. No. Yes, faith has its place, but there is work to be done. There is something you need to do in order to grow. There are some activities that you need to do in order to grow. And those are the things we are going to be discussing in future live programs. How do you grow? What aspects of life do you even want to grow in? Do you have a plan to grow? Like I said, growth has to be planned. Even a child, for example, or a tree, the plant that you plant, there is a plan for the growth of that plant. You have to water it at certain points in time. You have to allow it to have sunlight for the ones that need sunlight, or shield it from sunlight for the ones that need shielding from sunlight. Otherwise, that plant will not grow. So there is a plan. There is a plan in place. For your child that is in your house, you are trying to grow physically. There is a plan. You start off with breastfeeding. From breastfeeding, you move to semi-solids. From semi-solid food, you move to solid food. That is a plan for growth. For your own growth now, personally, for you to grow as a person in your attitude, for you to grow in your actions, in your reactions, what is your plan? Have you put a plan in place? Or you just want to wing it? Winging it does not work. I don't even know in any aspect of life that winging it works. Winging it and let's just, as it comes, let's just do. I don't know which aspect of life that works for. So have a growth plan. Develop a plan for your growth. And as you follow that plan, even for your spiritual life, have a plan. I will pray so many hours in a day. I will read my Bible. That is a plan for growth. So have a growth plan. For your career, I will attend such and such programs. Have a growth plan. And as you do this and you follow it through, you will see that gradually, step by step, you are making progress in your journey of growth. Now, for this introductory part, I think I will end it here. I don't know if anybody has any questions. If I have said anything that makes sense to you, please put it in the comment sections that you made sense. Because sometimes, when we are talking, you begin to wonder whether the people are hearing you and whether they are understanding what you are saying. So if I have said anything that made sense to you, put it in the comment section. Just tell me, what did you hear today that made sense to you? What did you hear not even necessarily that you never heard it before, because I am sure we have heard all these things before. One thing I know about this time is that information is there everywhere. We hear it all the time. It goes into our ear, but most times it does not go into our hearts. It does not go into our minds even. It stops in our ear. So what have you heard this afternoon? What made sense to you? I would like to see our comments. If anybody has anything to say, please make your comments, even as I will begin to draw this session to a close this afternoon. I want to thank each and every one of you once again. Growth must be measured. It must be measured. You have to have a system of measuring your growth to know whether truly, I'm going back to my example of children. Many of us, we check the heights of our children, those that have children. You keep checking their heights to know if they are growing. You know that by so many months, a child should be sitting. By so many months, a child should be crawling. And those are your, standards you use to measure the growth of the child. So your growth must be measured. We have to have some kind of system to measure growth. And as we go on, we will discuss those systems that you can put in place to measure your growth. Any other comments, any other questions, in case somebody has a question to ask? Is there a question? If there is none, I think I will bring this session this afternoon to a close right now. And I want to thank each and every one of you that made out time to be here. And I encourage you to join me every Tuesday, every Thursday in this month of February and part of March. By the time we get to the March, we'll know whether we'll continue this or we'll move to something else. But for now, every Tuesday, every Thursday in the month of March, 12 noon, I will be here. I will be your personal guide in this journey of growth. Not only will I be your guide, I will go on this journey with you, holding your hands. We will do it together. Thank you so very much for joining me this afternoon. See you on Tuesday, 12 known. God bless you. Bye.